All right, Leslie, the moment's almost here. The rematch with Cris Cyborg just a few days away. How much have you thought about rematching her since the first time you guys fought?
It's been on my mind, at the back of my mind, at the front of my mind, rolling around in my mind this entire time.
For sure, and I mean, it's been so long, but it's 5 years, right? So how much do you think that first rematch you can even weigh analysis into it? Do you feel like that this is a different fight this time around completely, or?
Yeah, it's 100% a different fight. I have completely changed as a fighter. I know she's evolved as a fighter as well. And I mean, they say that styles make fights, and I think it was Muhammad Ali who was talking about I'm not so good at remembering quotes exactly, but about how of course he's changed, after a whole bunch of years, it'd be such a waste of time if he hadn't changed. And so, yeah, we've both changed. We've both been doing this game for a long time, and I mean, I know that I have a much higher level of fight maturity, fight knowledge. I'm a lot more cerebral. I've got a better understanding of how to create and exploit opportunities than I ever did. And I know that she has changed a whole lot too. And so I think that as our styles have evolved, that this is going to make this an even more interesting fight than it was the first time.
Sure, and I know the first time it was, obviously a huge stage. You're in front of a big crowd fighting. Cris hadn't lost at that point, and it was probably a very big moment. Do you think that being in there and having gone through that once, you're a little bit more comfortable coming into this one?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Experience is a great teacher.
For sure. When she signed with Bellator, did you know you guys were going to match up again?
Yes, I knew 100% as soon as she signed with Bellator that I was going to get to face her inside of a cage again.
And I know that anytime anybody goes into a fight with Cyborg, it seems they're a betting underdog, and they have a lot of people picking against them. But you've always struck me as somebody who doesn't necessarily care about what other people think, whether it was the union stuff or you're speaking out when you're in the UFC. So do you kind of embrace that you see an opportunity here to really create an MMA moment?
I mean, I've always seen myself as an underdog. It's a position that I celebrate. You mentioned the labor stuff that I care about, and dude, if that isn't embracing the aspect of an underdog and the dynamics of an underdog, then I don't know what is. Because in this society, in the U.S., labor and workers and the dynamic, the employment relationship, that is to be an underdog. And yeah, so just like I'm working on learning more about that, I'm working on showing that as the underdog, I can still be the top dog.
There you go. And you fought so many big names, and you're somebody, I think, when the MMA history book's written, you'll be somebody that's mentioned as helping progress women's MMA in a time that it needed some help. It needed some people to boost it up. So regardless of that, I mean, do you feel like a belt is necessary for your legacy? You fought for Invicta and that didn't work out. Now here you are at Bellator. Do you feel like you need a title, or is your legacy regardless?
The legacy that I want more than anything else is to establish an organization that's going to protect fighters' rights. That's the thing that I care about more than anything else in the whole wide world. But the only way to do that is to get the belt. So this is just another stepping stone in what exactly it is that I want to do.
Do you feel like the unions, the organization stuff that you're talking about, do you think that that'll be an effort that when your career's done, when you're done competing, that will be something you still go towards and dive headfirst into?
Oh yeah. When I got fired from the UFC a couple of years ago, I was pretty lost. Apparently a lot of professional athletes go that route and feel this oh my God, what am I in life now? And I was really lucky. Rebecca Gavon at Rutgers University, I got to go out there and do a panel with Lucas Middlebrook, and she told me that I could apply and that I could start going to school, and so I did. I'm now 2 classes away from graduating with my degree in labor and employment relations, and I'm excited about studying the LSATs after that is finished and going to law school. So, I mean, when I say I'm embracing the underdog and the struggle and that's what I want to fight for, I'm I'm not just doing it in the cage here. That's literally what I am putting my whole life to.
Yeah, that is a resounding yes if you're going through all of that. So that's great to hear. And I mean, have you followed what's going on? I think right now when you talk about fighter pay and everything else that's going on, Jon Jones in the UFC is obviously a big topic of discussion right now. Have you been following along with that, and kind of what's your take?
You know what, I see stuff, I see headlines, I see things, you know, the Diego stuff, like, I see it all, but gosh, if I can send one message to everybody who has a complaint against your promotion, follow your complaint up with, because I believe in a union. Because then you're protected. Because then you can file charges with the NLRB and say, hey, I was doing this concerted activity, I was talking about my working conditions, and I got fired in retaliation for it, and then you're gonna have a charge, and then they're gonna investigate that, then they're gonna investigate the independent contractor status. They're gonna find that fighters in the UFC are employees. It's such a slam dunk right now, especially with the administration that's in there right now. Peter Orr is the new head of the NLRB. I mean, the Biden administration, there was even a memo that they shared recently talking about how there's a lot, most of the independent contractors out there are deserving of, well, I guess I shouldn't quote stuff exactly, but it said something to the effect of a lot of people who are not getting these rights as employees right now, they actually do deserve it. And dude, it would be a slam dunk. If there's a fighter out there and you want to make a greater legacy than any belt or any 2-second knockout, just freaking work on it. Try to start a union. You'll change it forever.
Do you think we're reaching a point in time where it's more likely? Because I feel like that was always the thing people said, oh, it'd be great, but we're never going to get those numbers. It was kind of like a defeatist thing. Do you feel like with what's going on with Diego, with Jon, with the administration, like you're saying, that a change could come sooner rather than later?
Yeah, if they get off their asses and like recognize that they got to speak for more than just themselves. Jon Jones, if he wanted to, if he cared about everyone else, yeah, dude, he could change this whole game. I mean, there is a group that GSP was the head of. If they had conviction in what they were doing, and if they had stuck with it, like, yeah, I think that it would have changed already. Clearly, I'm not the leader that people want, but that doesn't mean that the union thing isn't a freaking really important idea. People like glorify these other athletes, these NBA athletes, the Major League Baseball, the football athletes, and they're making tons of money. You know what the difference is? They have a union and they're bargaining and they're getting 49 to 51% of the revenue that they're bringing in. Meanwhile, fighters are getting like 14 to 20%, maybe at that. And you know what's crazy? You got me started here. Is that the costs for putting on the shows, when the UFC went public, that's part of their selling point, is that their costs are actually going down. They're being able to pay fighters less out of, you know, everything that's coming in. And like, who is that okay with? And if that's not okay with you, then why are you just letting them do it to you?
For sure, yeah. I could talk to you about this for probably a few hours,
Clearly,
but I know
I
our time's limited. Let's just swing right back around to Cyborg real quick before we go.
Yeah.
Friday, how do you shock the world? What do you have to do to go out there and do what a lot of people have tried and not been able to do?
Yeah, well, you know what, last time I really went and I just tried to go like this. And you know what, she's a strong woman. She's stronger than I am. I can admit that. She can pick heavier things up than I can. But that's not what this fight is about. And so I'm gonna show people that I have the advanced fight knowledge to finish Cyborg, to take her into deep waters where she can't swim any longer, and then to put an end to her reign in Bellator. That's the goal, you know? It's always the goal. She's a great fighter. I'm a great fighter. It's gonna be a great fight, so make sure you watch.